How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.
My name is Jonathan Gillum.
And this is The Experts. This is Jonathan Gillum, and this is The Experts on Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube. And listen, it's a great day to be a conservative, although I hate the terms conservative and liberal, because the haters have started to respond, and I love it. I love it. Because these leftist trolls, they don't get that once the truth is revealed, that there's nothing that they can say or do unless they lie to prove anything else. That the truth stands on its own. But yet they will lie. What they do more often than not is they try to argue with no evidence to back up what they think is correct. So that's when they turn to lies. Anyway, we'll talk a little bit about this. Let's get started. So I'm sure the people that watch this show on a nightly basis are like, look, it gets old, me talking about what communism is over and over and over. I'm sure it gets old, and I get it. I understand that, and so that's why I try, to do it sparingly, but yet still, and the reason I'm not looking up at the camera right now is because there's a guy, Robert Kitte. I had a whole bunch of trolls that really did not like the response that I gave yesterday, or the meme that I put out yesterday about that walkout. Let's see, the meme actually said, let me pull it up here. The meme said, wake up call, today's schools across the U.S. This was yesterday. Even private schools participated in mass protests against the Second Amendment. They were planned by activists and school staffs, approved by the administrations, and done without the consent of parents. Communism is alive and well in the U.S. So, of course, people that are leftists are going to be upset about that. They don't like the fact that the truth is being known. I don't think a lot of these people even understand the reality of what is actually going on when it comes to the reality of what communism actually is. I don't think that they get that they're being played. I think that is one of the biggest helpful things to perpetuate these lies and the fake news and all these different things. That's what perpetuates this stuff forward, is the laziness of the people to not even seek out. Literally, they don't even seek out the truth. They don't even give it a second thought. And so what we see is that I was, when I was on Sean Hannity's radio show today, it was pretty fascinating. I mean, he was fired up, and it was great listening to him. I got to put your Facebook stuff up right here because my iPad died that I usually have the show on for Facebook. So I got all kinds of stuff going on here. So when I was listening to Sean talk, and I was in the studio, and I like to go there a little early and then hang out with the gang that works back in there in the production booth. Just an amazing group of people. And I was listening to what Sean was saying. He was really fired up today, and he was talking about all these different things that the leftists do and that the media does, and the way that they spit out old news. They'll recirculate old news in order to just to basically rehash the stuff that's already been proven that it's not true. And that is, people fall for that. That is part of what I'm talking about here. People will just, they're so divided. They're so focused on, they get their news from CNN or MSNBC, or they get their news from Fox. And all the while, everybody's getting spun up because that's the way this media circus works. It doesn't matter if it's CNN or Fox News. It doesn't matter, because what they do is they all use entertainment, and they all use certain things that are going to spin people up. So you have to do your own research. And for instance, I can only assume that the guy is a young high school person from Anchorage, Alaska, wrote on my Facebook underneath that meme. That meme really got to people. So he wrote under there that one, let's see, let me pull it up here real quick. I got to get out of this, and I'll pull it up. Let's see. He says, he's trying to school me now. And he says, one, the events were planned by the students themselves in virtually every case. Well, first of all, this guy lives in Anchorage, Alaska. I don't think he really has the ability to, and the in-depth knowledge or clairvoyancy to see who planned these things all over the country. I could even guarantee you the school that he goes to, that the students didn't plan that. The students were involved with it. But ultimately, those types of things have to be planned by the principal, the superintendent, and the teachers. The students can be involved in planning what they're going to say and what they're going to do, but in order to carry out the actual walkout of the school, those things have to be planned by the staff, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. And then he says, number 2, this is him schooling me. He says, it's not against the Second Amendment. It's about needing to actually look for viable ways to limit gun violence, especially in schools. We don't want it to be no guns. Well, you see, this is what I call a useful idiot. And I don't mean that this kid is an idiot, but what Saul Alinsky would call a useful idiot, or Hillary Clinton would call a useful idiot, are people that will follow what's going on, and they will follow the narrative that they're being told, but they don't do any research to find out who actually planned these events. The reality is that the main people involved with planning these events were the same people who organized the Women's March that happened January 20th, I believe it was, last year, when the president got elected, President Trump, when he took his oath of office, Inauguration Day. Those women are made up of admitted communists, felons, one woman who was a part, I don't have her name, and I'm not going to give her credit anyway, but one woman that was incarcerated for 20 years, I believe, because her and another gang of I think it was 2 other girls, a gang of girls, believe it or not, they abducted a man, held him for several days, and tortured him to death. She was one of the organizers for the Women's March. You had Tamika Mallory, who I've had the displeasure of being. It's the only interview that I've ever walked out of. She was probably one of the most foul-mouthed racists I've ever met in my life. She's about this tall, and she's like one of those no-see-ums when you go to the beach, and those little things that you can barely see them, but when they bite you, it's like, dang, God, they're just annoying. That's her. She's tiny. She's super loud. She won't let anybody talk, and she's a racist. And she's another one of these people who helped plan the Women's March and was involved in this. You have also with the Women's March was Linda Sarsour, who is a jihadist, a Muslim jihadist who actually supports Sharia law, and she was one of the organizers of the Women's March. Now, I don't know if they were directly involved with organizing these things in particular, but from what I understand, that the overall, the same people that were involved in the overall organizing of the Women's March are the same ones that were involved in initially organizing these walkouts in the schools. So when you look at that, and you look at the reality of who these people are that organize these marches, and you understand the leftist indoctrination that's happened to the schools, what you see is that across the board in the educational sector in this country, including private schools, I hate to tell you people, those that are paying $20,000 or more to send your kids to private schools, even those schools are indoctrinated with leftists. So you have to understand, whether you want to call them leftists or communists or globalists or socialists, that's what they are. And ultimately, what they want is, where this young man says that that we don't want no guns, well, you have to be careful who you walk with in life. If you walk with these people and they say, let's do a walkout so that we can make our voices heard, so we won't be shot again, so that there'll be no more school violence or gun violence, well, you better start listening to see if they're actually saying anything that is going to stop this violence. And in the cases, or the killing in that matter, you're probably never going to stop the violence. The violence is going to be there. It's perpetuated by a lot of things. It's perpetuated by drugs. It's perpetuated by almost, it's unbelievable how narcissistic human beings have become, not just in the United States, around the world. Psychopathic in a lot of ways. Culture has just changed in this world. People will watch beheading videos and they don't even give it a gasp. As we saw in Florida, a shooter goes in, kills 17 people, wounds 14. Yet you have students who don't even seem to be remorseful at all. So things have changed in this world. And you better be very careful who you cling to and who you follow. And as this young man was saying, that we don't want it to be no guns. What you don't understand is that you're being used by these people who don't want guns. And the reason they don't want guns is not because they want you safer. They don't want guns because they want to weaken, as I explained last night, they want to weaken the Constitution. They want to weaken the Bill of Rights. Because these people, like the three lesbians who started Black Lives Matter, they are Marxists, and they want this utopia that Marx talked about, which is gained through basically causing a rift in a society, causing a clash, and through that clash will come a synthesis. That's what they believe. That basically through chaos comes utopia. That's what they believe, by any means necessary. So young people out there, teachers, principals, superintendents, parents, you better get on board and start educating yourself, because communism does not look like it did 30, 40, 50 years ago. Communism now it's been polished off, it's been chromed up, it's been made to look like everybody is going to get what they want, and you'll have to work less, and everybody will be fed, and everybody will be happy, and you can drink and do your drugs. You can live however you identify one day to the next, and everything will just be okay. That's not reality. It's not reality. And it's never going to happen. You introduce drugs, you're going to introduce violence. You introduce this thing that's going on nowadays where, you know, somebody wakes up today and says, I feel like a cat. And so everybody's got to say, hello, kitty cat. You know, that is unrealistic living, and it is never going to be accepted in mainstream around the world. It just will not. Maybe it is for a while, but it will always go against whatever it takes to procreate. Remember that. I'm not putting judgment on people here, and I don't want to go down this whole transgender issue thing tonight. That's not what I'm trying to talk about. But what we've got to realize is nature says that wherever you put humans, for instance, in an elevator, or animals in general, not just humans, but animals in an elevator that, or in an enclosure, that there will be, eventually there will be aggression, because people try to start measuring people up, and it has to do, once again, when it comes back to it, the survival of the fittest. When it comes to procreation, people are going to be drawn, on the whole, doesn't mean that society won't change, but people are going to be drawn to accepting a man and a woman together more than they will a man and a man, or a woman, a man who thinks he's a woman who thinks he's a man, or somebody who, a grown person who thinks they're a baby, or a cat. You know, it is not conducive to procreation of your species. So therefore, there's always going to be turmoil there. I'm not placing judgment on how somebody wants to live. You want to live a certain way, you live that way. I don't really care. It doesn't affect me one way or the other. I'm not saying you're bad, or I'm not saying you're good. I'm not saying I'm going to go out and protest for you or protest against you. What I'm saying is that when you have an alternative lifestyle that does not meet what nature says is viable for procreation of the species, there is going to be stress eventually in a society, no matter how you cut it. It may get to a point in society where everybody says, no, I'm not going to say anything about that. I'm not going to act that way, because if I say something, I'm going to get fired. Okay, that may happen. But privately, people will still grumble. That's the way humans are, and that's the way nature is. And why am I even bringing this up? Because that is the utopia that communists believe in modern day communists. I'm not talking about the Cold War back in, Russia. I'm talking about modern day communists. They believe in a utopia where what nature says is correct will be pushed aside. What God says is, is sin or is right or wrong will be pushed aside. that what governments say as far as this has to be the law so that people are safe and so we live in a structured environment, that'll be pushed to the side, and that everybody will work, and if you need, you can take, and then if you don't need, then you provide. And that's just the way the whole world will live in harmony. That has never been the case in human history. It will never be the case in human history. I mean, think about it. Human beings are animals. There is no species of animal where that utopia exists. Even in the most docile areas where animals, of a species live together, there is killing, or there's predators that want to kill them. It's never a paradise for animals. Now you take humans who are animals, and then you add in this thing that we got in our brain where we have ability to reason. Well, along with reasoning becomes an overwhelming ability to search for our desires and fulfill them. And so what you're going to end up having is never a utopia. You will always be, because everybody has to think the same in order to have a utopia. It's never going to happen with this thing we call a brain. It's called free will. You may have groups of people that think the same way, but just like on the plains of Africa, you'll have antelope and they will be eaten by lions. That's just the way it is. So what am I getting at here? These kids think that they were marching out of the school yesterday to support and in remembrance of the 17 people that died down in Florida. That was not the case. In their minds, it might have been that case, but reality is a movement is starting. Well, it's not really starting. It's taking on a different evolution in the way it is presented to the public, and this is subversion. This is what they do. They shift as the changing tides and winds of a society change. They shift as well, because the whole purpose is to bring society down, again, to cause this disruption, to cause this conflict so they can have this synthesis. So the young people think they're marching in support of the 17 people that died. They're marching because they don't want any more kids to die, and because they think AR-15s are bad. The reality is, if you look at the people who organize the marches, and if you look at the belief structure of the teachers, the principals, and the superintendents, and the politicians, many of the politicians who spoke yesterday at the Capitol are close associates with Louis Farrakhan, an anti-Semite. What is with I don't even want to go down this road. What is with people in this country that it's the left and people on the left are associating with the anti-Semite. Those same people that are saying, oh, Louis Farrakhan, he's not it's nothing, it's no big deal. Those are the same people that are going out and making stuff up about President Trump being a racist. And the whole left gets all bent out of shape. Well, President Trump is a racist. Anybody that supports him is a racist. That's what they say. But yet you say, okay, what about this senator and this congressman and these other people that are associated with Louis Farrakhan? And they've got pictures hugging with him. They've supported him, donated money. What about them? And they say, well, it doesn't really mean anything. I mean, some of them even say that Louis Farrakhan is a great person. He is a separatist, a black separatist who, quite frankly, would probably kill all the Jewish people and except they're the ones that somehow, for some reason, think that he's great. And then he would probably kill all the white people in this country. It's true. I am neither a racist, nor am I a separatist, nor am I a misogynist. That word is overused. I am not a homophobic person. I literally don't care about people's sexuality. I just don't care about it. And I don't believe that the color of skin tells me anything about a person, except for when somebody of a certain color has committed a crime and I need a description to go find them. No different than clothes. If somebody said, hey, you're supposed to go meet this guy Gillum, what does he look like? Well, he's a white guy, but he'll have a red shirt on. I look at that as the same thing. I don't look at the color of skin as anything that's going to tell me about the morals or quality of who a person is. So this whole nonsense about people who support Trump being racist is not true. And I'll tell you something. If I ever saw Louis Farrakhan, I'd probably just punch him right in his face if I had the chance. Of course, he's going to have a bunch of minions around him that are like brain dead, brainwashed minions that follow him around, and do his bodyguard stuff, rightfully so. But I would never be around that person. He is an anti-Semite. He's a racist. He's a separatist. He is basically a jihadist. Young people and all these parents and all these people that think it's so great to march with these women's marches, to march against Trump, to let their kids walk out and do on these administrators, you better think twice. Because the reality is, the people that are going to use this, remember, you may think it's okay to march or it's okay to go to these protests or whatever, but you're going to go home and you're going to work and you're not going to do anything else. You're not going to, I'm talking to like 99.99% of the people in this country. You're not going to run for office. You're not going to ever be somebody who hosts a television or radio show. You're not going to be somebody who goes around working for campaigns or anything. You're going to be a normal person that goes home, raises their kids, does whatever they're going to do. But when it comes time for these walkouts, you'll support it. Or it comes down for some kind of women's march, you'll go march. You'll put the stupid pink hat on or whatever. But what you don't realize is that the people at the core of these movements, they're not in support of you or your safety or your freedom or nothing. These are people that just like they'll lie about Donald Trump and say he's a racist, just like they'll lie about me and say that I'm some kind of, they'll say all kinds of stuff about me. Those are the same people that don't care about you. Those are the same people that will use what you're doing and the forward momentum that you're causing to go ahead and bring down the rest of the Constitution. And if you don't believe me, look at history. This has happened before. Over and over. So the third thing that this kid says, what on earth does teens and young adults standing up for what they want to change in the government have to do with communism? Communism is socialism socialism's twisted, failed brother. Nothing to do with this. Well, first of all, that's not true. Socialism is the stepping stone to communism. That's always the way it's been. They did, some countries, small countries like Denmark, have been able to utilize social programs, and they call themselves a social government. But the reality is that they are not a socialist government because they're social capitalists. That's what they are. They're more capitalists than they are socialists. But what they do is basically what they do is they have social programs in a capitalist, democratic society. So socialism is not a twisted, failed brother. Socialism is a stepping stone and has always been throughout history since communism was created. So here's my advice to this young man is, and I don't want to be harsh. I mean, look, you're obviously passionate. You're obviously somebody who thinks that they know what the truth is. But I'll give you the same advice I'd give any young person. And I mean this sincerely from my heart. I had to learn this as a young person who had a lot of energy. I wanted to learn. I always wanted to be the best. That's why I do the things that I do, because I always am striving to be better. The older I've gotten, it gets a little harder, I will tell you that. But here's my advice to all the young people out there. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're in high school. If you're somebody who is in college and you live at home, or somebody that is, I don't know, maybe you're 16 years old and you're planning your future, here's my suggestion to you. And I mean this from the heart. Shut your damn mouth. Shut up, do what you're told, show the world that you have control and self-responsibility. Do things like take the garbage out when you're not asked to. Do things like study and put down the computers and the phone. Do the things that a responsible adult would do, and then we will treat you like adults. But here's the other thing. Shut your mouth and gain some life experience. Because until you've done that, and this young guy wants to debate me, somebody who has done all these things for over going on 25 years now. Well, if you include college, 31 years. Yeah, I was on the 6-year program in college. But I paid my way through college, and I worked sometimes three jobs at a time in order to pay for college. The point is, I learned early on to keep my mouth shut and learn. And just because I felt like I knew something didn't mean that I knew it. It meant that I had to look inside myself and say, you know what? I've got the energy to learn. Before I speak up on this, I better make sure that I know what I'm talking about. That's why I don't go and wear, like, if I've never ran a marathon and somebody gives me a shirt, which a friend of mine did for the New York City Marathon, I'm not going to put that shirt on. I'm not going to wear something that makes people think that I've done something when I haven't. Although I have ran a marathon before, I just didn't do it in a competition. I've ran way more than 26 miles in a day. So, folks, young people, listen to me when I say this. I know I'm harsh. I'm kind of aggressive when I say it. Just shut your mouth, man. Shut your mouth. Be humble. Prove that you are somebody who is not going to just be led by the masses or like the masses. Shut your mouth. Take self-responsibility. Show the world that you're not self-indulged, that you want to learn, that you've shown up to learn, and get life experiences. Don't go, look, honestly, and I know I speak for so many people, I would have to say the vast majority of people, that these young people from the school down in Florida, when you get up and give these speeches and you're impassioned, I know, I've been there, I know exactly what it's all about, and you give these impassioned speeches, like the kid that was on Bill Maher saying that he's an expert because he was in a school where a shooting happened. That kid's no more an expert than I am on curing the flu. I've had the flu, but I can't tell you how to cure it. So this kid was in a school where there was a shooting. He's not an expert on stopping it. He could tell us what the fear factor is like, and he could be guiding a lot of people on this is how you deal with the fear. Although he may not even know that. Chances are the majority of those kids that were in that situation they don't even remember what their brain was thinking, except for the fact that they were scared to death, and rightfully so. When I hear this David Hogg kid or this Gonzalez girl, this other kid that was there, I saw a video today. I'm not going to lie, and there's this blonde-headed girl that was up there. Listen, you all come off as narcissistic egomaniacs that have zero experience, and you should shut up and go home and get some life experience. But what's happening here with those kids especially, they're being not only given a platform, they're being told what to say. And they're saying it very well, and they're being coached. And the politicians that stand behind them are pushing them forward because they know those kids can do their bidding better than they can. These are the Louis Farrakhan supporters. These are the Obamaites and all these other people. These are people that I have referenced on this show before where they have zero experience in anything else except lying and sitting and working, I use that term lightly, sitting in office and living off the government dole, off of our taxpayer dollars. And so these kids, they push them forward and they use them as puppets, although these kids know what's going on. There's no way that they don't. The training that they have and the narrative and the vocals that come out of their mouth, there's no way these kids are not being trained and orchestrated before they go up and speak. They're being told what to say. I'm almost positive, literally, it's stuff's being written down for them, given to them. But in the off chance it's not, I can guarantee you that they have been set down with these politicians, with these activists, and they've gone through line by line on how they're going to do this. They've been brought into the inner fold, and they're used as the front men because the politicians and activists, they know that they can't. Tamika Mallory, are you kidding me? If that girl was put in front of the general population in this country, they would turn their back on her in less than a fraction of a second. Linda Sarsour, same way. Vicious, vicious human beings. Look at Madonna. Look at when she came up there and acted a fool talking about blowing the White House up. Look at Ashley Judd, somebody who I used to respect as an actress, the lowest of all forms of career fields in this country. And I know actors, and I tell them that to their face. I think that actors who do it as for a passion because they're an artist, I think now that I put on a different scale. I put them on the scale with people who have real skill set. But these people that we call actors and actresses today, first of all, they act for crap. All right, it's not believable. They just put the same people's face on the screen because they sell tickets. And those people take their egos and they run wild thinking that they know everything. Just because they equate people watching them and wanting an autograph to them knowing more than those people. And that's not the case. Young people in this country, you got to shut up. You got to get a clue. You got to show responsibility. Big speeches and getting up there and telling the rest of the country that I know what's best for you. Listen, you just look stupid. You're no genius. You got to earn that. There's very few people that are Bill Gates smart. Okay, very few people. The rest of us out here, we have to earn our place in the world. We have to work hard. We have to learn from life itself and gain the knowledge that you get in school, the understanding that you get from doing the job, and the experiences of life. You push all that together, and that's where you get wisdom. Until then, I don't want to hear from you standing on a podium trying to tell us subject matter experts how to defend a school by getting rid of one particular gun that is most often not used in mass shootings. So I'm not even looking at what I get so busy sometimes on this show that I can't even see what people are what they're saying. But anyway, my response to this kid was basically what I've just said, all the stuff that I've said to you. Hold on here a second here. So I just want to bring up one other thing here real quick before I call it a night. I know it's kind of a short show, but I did see this. Somebody told me about this. Is on Breitbart this morning. I'm going to be on Breitbart, by the way, at 7:35 Eastern Standard Time tomorrow morning. Hopefully all these people who put me on their shows will eventually give me a show. But it appears as though in Connecticut, parents argue school district's decision to allow students to walk out breaks the law. And I'd like to get this. I tried to get an attorney on the show tonight, but I was unable to. That could speak towards this. But it appears as though Deborah Stevenson is a expert in constitutional and educational law. She spoke to some parents who had issues with these school districts allowing these students to participate in this walkout. And evidently, Ms. Stevenson sent a letter to the New Milford Board of Education. I want everybody to listen to this very closely because I would love for people around the country to do the same thing. This is what she said. My clients have asked me to notify you that this event violates state law on the basis that state and local public funds are being used improperly to advocate for a political issue and to influence how voters will vote. And that's what they were doing. Because it violates the law, we demand that the New Milford Public School District Superintendent and Board of Education immediately cancel the event and rescind any association or prior involvement in it. Well, they did not. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because I didn't even know there were such laws. But again, I'm no expert. I'm not an expert in this field. So I can't really say too much about it, except for the fact that I suggest people around the country do the same thing. If you know or want to contact some of these attorneys and tell them, listen, you might want to get on this because, first of all, it's going to be good publicity for these attorneys. But this is something that that could end up being a Supreme Court a case. And this is one of my biggest beefs about the conservatives in this country. So the left has all these attorneys that work for free. They have these nonprofits that are always, where people, they go there and they work. They know they're not going to make a lot of money, but they're liberal and they believe in the social program. That's where I believe they do get a lot of stuff right on the left. But unfortunately, a lot of those programs are steeped in the leftist ideology. And so what I'd like to see are people on the right doing something similar. Where are all the attorneys that are conservative putting in their time and effort to battle something like this, these school walkouts, and taking them to court? Why aren't they doing that? I don't get it. I don't know. Anyway, good luck to them, and I hope that actually plays out. Anybody else got anything? Now, here's the other thing. Tomorrow, I'm going to be doing my show. I don't know what time. It may be earlier tomorrow, maybe a little later, but I'm going to do it from, let me pull this up here. Stand by. Got to pull up the date and the address. Let's see here. All right. 7 to 10 tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a book signing at VFW Post 1616, and that's in Williamstown, New Jersey. And I'm going to be doing that with a friend that is having, let me pull this up because this is let me pull it up so I can actually describe what it is. Heroic Episodes is a TV series in development based on true veteran stories. Screening includes short film, trailer, and veterans interviews. So I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be selling my book and autographing those books. And then anybody that buys it, I'm going to donate a portion of the money to whatever charity they want, maybe even helping out to get this done. We'll figure that out. And they're going to raffle one of my books off as well. And so I'm going to be doing the show from there. I don't know how extensive that's going to be because I got this crappy laptop that I'm going to try to do it with, and I don't know if it actually works. I don't know if I can do that from my iPad. I may try to do that. But anyway, nonetheless, I'll be there tomorrow. And so I figured what I do tonight is I'll do a toast. If I get there tomorrow and I feel like doing a toast again, we'll do another toast. But I figure we'll do a toast tonight. Somebody just ask if I come to Boston. I tell you what, if you sponsor me up in Boston, you get a place where we can get enough people together to sign books, I'd come to Boston. But Boston's not really the most conservative place in the world, so there might be like 5 people show up for that. So here's the other thing I want to say. People keep talking about this freedom of speech stuff and equating what they're doing with freedom of speech. I'm going to say this real quick, and I truly do believe this. I think that communism should be outlawed in this country. It's dangerous. It's not a religious ideology. Communism is a cancer that was brought into the world, and wherever it has gone, it has brought millions of deaths. It's brought suffering. It's brought in some places slavery, and degradation of a society. There's nothing good that's going to come out of it. And I believe that same thing should go with neo-Nazi, those types of people. I can't say, and this is the reason why I don't know if we say like white separatists and black separatists, it's going to be very difficult to prove that somebody is a part of that ideology. But I do believe that groups like the Nation of Islam is definitely a black separatist group that has threatened the country. And I believe whenever that occurs, that those groups should be outlawed. I don't know why we allow this stuff to happen. We try to mask it under freedom of speech, but when people call for the overthrow of the country or the destruction of the country, or like in California, what's happening right now, where they're talking about breaking off from the country, which I actually do believe that's against the law. I don't understand how we equate that with freedom of speech, because that is similar to ISIS. That is similar to what are sneezes? Somebody as a doctor tell me that someday, because man, they feel good. Am I the only one that thinks sneezes feel good? Anyway, the same thing if ISIS said that they were going to kill Americans. I think that we wouldn't take that lying down, because we know that they will do that if they can do it. If they could come in and conquer the United States, we know that they would. Why is it that we allow ideologies like communism to flourish and we don't stand up and outlaw it? I don't think that how many times have we fought communism around the world, yet we don't outlaw it here in this country? They even have communists in the government of California. And today, Dave Robinson wrote me and told me that, I'll pull it up here real quick, that evidently, let me see, where's Dave Robinson at? This is crazy. That California appointed an illegal immigrant to a state position, appointed her to a state committee to increase access to college access to low-income and underserved communities. So I would hope that ICE would go and arrest that individual, because it's known now. And thank you, Mary. I was just told that that I look good in red and tan. I guess the color. So, and God bless Mary's mother, who is recovering from some medical issues. Amazing woman. And so is my neighbor, Mary. So, anyway, I was going off there a little bit, talk about communism. I don't know why that's not outlawed. I don't know how that's still allowed. And other ideologies that cause problems, that do nothing to better this country and have shown that they want to degrade or abolish the Constitution. Why is that even allowed? How does that fall under freedom of speech? I don't know. I don't get it. But listen, I'm a realist, so a lot of the things that I come up with are not going to make political sense, because it's simple. You look at it: is it effective? If not, get rid of it. Does it want to cause harm to myself, the people of this country, or the Constitution? If it does, get rid of it. I don't. That's the way I think. So let's do this. Let's go to the truth zone. Say a prayer that one day this show gets picked up, so I don't have to die knowing that I did a show for years and years, so that I don't think that I'm some kind of weirdo that just does a show in my apartment every night. This show needs to get bigger. Beard's growing back out. I'm going to let it grow back out a little bit, folks. I can't handle having chipmunk cheeks. Let's go to the truth zone. All right. I'm just looking to see if we got any trolls on here tonight. On Facebook. They finally found us on Facebook. They're trolling. Listen. Just like these people in Connecticut that said enough is enough, and they went and got together and got an attorney. We need to start doing this around the country. But where's the attorneys? Why aren't people doing this, stepping up and doing this so that could be their service to the country? There's only so much money that you can have to be happy. I've met people who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Hell, I've met several. Believe it or not, I know several billionaires. At least 3. That's kind of crazy when you think about it. But they're no more happy than you and I. I grew up in this house. I've shown this picture before. I grew up part of my life in this house. Right? I keep that picture there. Of course, I had a roof on it then. But it wasn't that much different. It was cleaned up. We weren't dirty people. 4 kids and my mom and my dad living in that house. We weren't rich by any means, but we were happy. I remember growing up as a kid so unbelievably happy because I could go and run through the woods and lay in the grass. I loved animals. It's good to have enough money to pay your bills and take care of your family. Absolutely. But to the attorneys out there, to the doctors, to the people who can make a difference in this country right now that are conservative, where are you? Where are the preachers like my Uncle Freddie who would work from sun up to sundown for people that he doesn't even know? Where are all the moms getting together and where they know each other and support each other? Where are the churches that are opening up Christian Planned Parenthoods so they don't have to give an abortion? They don't offer that. They offer support and understanding and helping people learn how to be parents. Where are you? We are losing this country. The middle class is being destroyed. The richer are getting too rich. I believe Amazon is a monopoly and should be split up. But it's getting too big. Those people are getting too rich. We're overpopulated. The conservatives don't want to get off their butts and work together, and it's going to be too late eventually. On the left, you got good people who have their liberal views. You got to realize this. Their liberal views they don't come from a place of evil like the communists. Their liberal views come because they care about other people. I get it. But you're being snowed, and you're being driven down a path to where you only believe what the left tells you. I have said on this program and disagreed with Donald Trump numerous times. I know people who Nancy Pelosi could say that the sun is the moon and the moon is the sun, and they will say, okay, that's the way it is. You people have to realize, on the right, you need to stand up and start working. On the left, you need to stop following like sheep. Here's a toast, folks. This toast is to the United States citizenry that used to be exceptional. What happened? Where are you? Why aren't you standing together? Let's do this. I'll finish that later. I'm Jonathan Gillum. My good old buddy Rico's down there laying down. This is The Experts, and folks, I'm just getting started. I'm 48 years old, and I feel like I just started my life. It may end tomorrow, if that's what the Lord wants. But the fact is, if you stop living and you start allowing other people to control you, you are no longer a viable entity for the Lord or for the United States. You might as well just go crawl in a hole and rot. Stop living like sheep. Stop living like know-it-alls. Stop being narcissists. And start being exceptional again. Just like the people in World War II that lived in this country that rose to the occasion. Otherwise, the enemy from within is going to destroy us. Go get my book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival. Got to get that rank up. We got to be #1 with this book. Everyone should have it. I'm just getting started. I'll see you tomorrow. I don't know, 7, 9, 8, somewhere around there. And remember, wherever you see me, wherever you hear this voice, wherever you see this hair, woo! The truth has arrived. Peace, and I'm out of here. I'm gonna do something here real quick. Hopefully he's still on here. This guy Ricardo, hold on a second here. Let me turn the camera back on. All right. So we got this guy Ricardo Morin. He's an adjunct professor of pictorial perspective, whatever in the world that is. Says he studied scenography at Yale School of Drama, and he's married to a guy named David. Here's what I'm going to do. Evan, I'm going to go through here. I'm going to read what you're saying because evidently you're a foul-mouthed idiot. So I'm going to go through here and I'm going to look at what you're saying here. And if I feel like, nope, you used the C word. Okay, so I'm not going to erase this. But what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to call Professor of Pictorial Perspective. First of all, I don't know where you're an adjunct professor at, but who would hire a guy who would come on and use the C word with people that there's no cursing on this show? So I'm going to find out who you are, unless you're a troll, Ricardo Morin. I'm going to find out where you live. I'm going to find out everything about you, and I'm going to see what kind of hell I can bring into your life. That's what I'm going to do. All right? So what you just did, if somebody went and did that on a leftist website, they would probably lose their job. So I'm going to do my best to see what we can do. Now let me go back here. This is not sure which one he is, which one's David. So we're going to see. I don't normally get involved in stuff like this, but the fact that you come on and my mom's on here and you're calling people a C word, pretty disgusting. But you know what? It says a lot about the type of people that I've been talking about all night on this show. You are the disgusting type of people that think that you can just go and say and do whatever you want, and that life is just going to be fine, and that there's never going to be any ramifications of it. And I'm going to tell you something, Ricardo. I've said this a million times. Freedom of speech gives you the freedom to say whatever you want. On this platform, what it's going to do is just going to get you blocked. But freedom of speech is not going to protect you from getting your mouth punched and your teeth knocked in. And I can guarantee you, if I see you on the road anywhere around here and you come up mouthing this stuff, I'm going to take it as a threat, because your behavior is odd, and it reminds me of from my training and experience as somebody who has severe emotional disorder. The violent language that you used on here, if you approach me or anybody from this show, what's going to happen is that I'm going to deem that an imminent threat of loss of life or serious bodily injury because of the nastiness that you've shown on here, and I will do what I have to do in order to eliminate that threat. I'll block you on here, but if I ever see your face anywhere close to me, I'm going to deem that a threat. So go ahead and keep it up. And as always, the truth has arrived. Peace. many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.